Hey everybody, welcome back to Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. Good morning to you all. I'm having my cup of coffee, looking at some baseball cards, and this is my shout out, my Remembering Pete Rose video. I've never done one of these before. I want to celebrate Pete Rose as a baseball player, not anything else. I'm not going to go into everything else about Pete Rose, but I have read his book called Play Hungry by Pete Rose. Really great book. And then also the book I'm about to read, Charlie Hustle, probably sees him in less of a great light. But I grew up having Pete Rose as the guy I wanted to play baseball like. My first team ever in baseball was for the Reds in T-ball with my best friend Danny. And I should have brought the picture out, but I was on the Reds. So, of course, I was obsessed with Pete Rose. And there he is right there on his rookie card. And his rookie card growing up was the all-time greatest card in the sport, in the hobby. And I still think that. I still think that Pete Rose's rookie card is like the most iconic baseball card ever. That and the Mickey Mantle 52 Topps. So let's just dive right in. I felt like you can't talk about Pete Rose without showing some of his teammates. And he had some insane teammates and won some World Series. So let's just dive right in. Let's see, where do I want to start? I've got a stack of his cards. Well, let's see here. Let's start with his 73 Topps. Let's start with his 75 MVP with Pete Rose and Reggie Jackson on the card. My favorite subset of all time that Topps has ever done, because as a kid, the card on card. This is the closest. I had a couple of these as a kid. The actual 75 Topps MVP cards just like this. All beat up, of course, but I grabbed some out of those dollar bins that I talk about. I used to search, and I had a few, and I thought, this was as close as I was going to get to the real deal. And it was a real vintage card. And it tells you about each season on the back. I can't get enough of these. And the way Heritage is doing the new versions this year, I'm adding those as well so I can collect all the cards of the MVPs of the season. Even though in most cases, not most cases, in a lot of cases, the MVP they chose before the analytics came around was not the greatest player of the season. But I'm going to stick with my MVP thing, and I'm going to watch Shane Shoebox Legends go after the Warlords, which I think really represents the greatest player. There really is no arguing against War. It's statistically factual that they were the greatest player. They meant the most to that team when you really dive into it. And I'm reading a book about War right now and the statistical value of it and all that. So I'm just really loving it, because before YouTube, I never once looked at the Hall of Fame, never once looked at War. I didn't even know what the heck War was, what it meant, how that really represents the greatest player from that season, from that era, and all the way through time. And I'm a true believer in it. I think it's very accurate. I think that's the way, I think that's why card prices completely changed, and some guys dropped off and some guys shot up over the last 10 years. And the more people realize that, the more it's going to continue to go that way. So let's look at his 73 Topps, Pete Rose. I mean, honestly, this is like my favorite card of all time. I know it's silly. I know I say it all the time, but I have this on my wall. I took it down for this video because this card itself just represents so much to me as a collector. My coach had this in his box as a kid, and I got to go through it, and I held this card. Something about the image has always attracted me. I just love this card so freaking much. And these cards are cheaper today than they were back when in the late 80s, early 90s. You can buy these 70s Topps cards cheaper now than you could then. You look in a Beckett, this thing was probably way more expensive then. And now you can buy them thanks to grading And just thanks to the fact that, those card prices of the 70s, they printed so much, millions and millions. They're easy to come by, and you just got to look for the centered ones. For me, the eye appeal is not easy to come by, no matter what grade. But I'm sticking with the low grades, and this thing was probably $20, if that. It's just one of my favorite cards in my collection. Good old Pete, Charlie Hustle. I mean, he was like my dad's era. As far as like the work ethic, my dad was a work machine. And every day my dad went to work, every day Pete Rose went to the ballpark. It was like the World Series. My dad worked his butt off for 35, 40 years, sun up to sundown, and then he would come home and play catch with me, go to the park and play baseball, take me surfing, all of the above, go camping on the weekends. That era, and I think it's still true to this day, I worked my butt off for 20 years at the same company, worked 40 to 55 hours a week for 20 years at the same place, and surfed every single day. So I got that from my dad. And Pete Rose was that guy in baseball. Let's look at his 78 Topps card. Just a beauty of an image. He has a lot of dugout photos, and we'll probably see a few in this video. This card I've had for ages. It's one that I've always wanted to get another one because this black dot has always bothered me. I mean, just goes to show that grades are just an opinion. Because this is an 8. My 73 Topps looks much better to the eye because it doesn't have that dot on it. But I don't have the heart to sell this. And it's another really inexpensive card. The centering's great. It's a beautiful baseball card. It's not like that thing's killing me. I still enjoy this on my wall. Still a beautiful card. And the backs here, we just did that set. Me, Doug, and Shane rated the all-time greatest sets, the designs. This was pretty low on all of our lists. Shane had 73 way up there, like number 4, number 3. But certain cards in each set tick the box for me. I don't know who's next to him, but I just love this shot of Pete Rose. And you can have this card I probably bought this for like $6 back in the day, $8. And today it's probably like a $20, $30 card. Maybe not today, once card prices come back down to reality, for Pete Rose. Now let's pull this thing out of here, and let's get the big red machine going. Pull this guy down, put this over here. Let's put Joe Morgan in the front. Yeah, he should be right here next to his teammate. But this guy, you can't talk about Pete Rose without Johnny Bench. This is my childhood card. Had this in my collection for my entire life. I don't know when I got it, but I think I traded a friend for this when I was a kid, and it was like my holy grail. Absolute holy grail. I slabbed this baby up. Johnny Bench. These guys played on the same team for like 10 years. I don't know factually exactly how many years. I'm just guessing. But they are to be together. Like Johnny Bench and Pete Rose are, in my mind, always a teammate, always together. They're always interviewed together and separate and talk about each other constantly. Just love that card. Let's keep going with those two players right there. Let me grab these guys. Next ones we're going to look at. Let me pull these guys down and push them back into the background. Oops. Left the cases there. Pop him there. Morgan going back. Bench. We got more combos here to look at. Let's go like this. Those out of there. Pete Rose, 1972 Topps. Man, something about Pete Rose's cards too. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but they have a real vintage feel to them. I think maybe it's the Reds jerseys. every time the old 60s Pete Rose card, they just look more vintagey to me than the rest of the cards. For whatever reason, Pete Rose always looks vintage. Maybe it's his haircut, but this card, not an exception to that rule. It just looks extra vintagey, extra special. 72 Topps, Pete Rose. An unbelievable baseball card. Another one you can find so inexpensive, or you will be once this comes down. I mean, how cool is this card? I love the 72 set. I rank this way up there on my list. I think they really knocked it out of the park. My Junk Wax Hero, he is blind. His eyes have snow on top of them or covered. I don't understand how you can't love this set. What it represents and the design they went after for the 70s is spectacular. Popping the 3D letters out like this. The images all look insane. I mean, I don't know how you can't put 72 on like the top of your list. It's such an incredible set. Let's pull out the Johnny Bench from that set. Well, I'll just put him next to him. I'm not going to pull it out of the sleeve. But look at this classic looking card. Look at those two together. It's just a sight to behold. Like, you put these on the wall side by side. I just think it's just so cool to put teammates next to each other. All right, let's pop these over here. Pop this guy over here, since this is the Pete Rose show. And we're going to go to his 72 Topps in action. Look at the smile on his face. I don't know who that catcher is. Looks like the Giants catcher. I could be wrong. Probably says on the back. Oh, this is probably my second favorite subset, and I have a decent amount of them. The 72 inactions, I just think they're really a special set, and the design to me just gets me every time. I love this, and some of them have writing on the back, and some of them have a puzzle piece like this. This is Yaz right here, half a Yaz. Look at that image. Just love it. I love it so much. All right, and now we got to show the Johnny Bench to go with it. This image is just spectacular. Probably should have taken it out of the sleeve. I'm a stickler for taking things out of sleeves. As you get that waviness, you just get the reflection. But this is the Pete Rose show. But I had to show these side by side. I mean, look at that. Let's move this guy right here. Let's make this look really cool. I mean, is that not epic or what? All together, all at once. And I got a pickup here to show you guys, which is just awesome, and it goes so perfectly with Pete Rose. One more Pete Rose card I want to share with you guys that I just think it's just an awesome card. 1976 Topps Pete Rose. And it has the All-Star emblem on it. The image, it's just one of those dugout images, and you're looking at them. I just love this image. It's such a beautiful card. It's a stunner. Not much to say other than that it's just one of those special vintage cards that I just love. And I still need the Johnny Bench from this set. One of the most spectacular cards from the set, if not the best card from that entire set. 76, it's really awesome. I just haven't pulled the trigger, and it's not like it's an expensive card or anything. I just need to find the right one. All right, let's move on. Now, I'm going to do a shout-out real fast to History Buff. He commented on my thing, and just to prove to you guys, like, I'm not commenting back on everyone's comments. I'm not just going to say thank you, thanks for watching. If it hits me in the spot, I'll comment back. But I read every single comment, and they mean a whole lot to me. And if you have a question, I'll answer it. And he wanted to know if I had the 69 All-Star Sporting News of Pete Rose. And yes, I do. And yes, I love the Sporting News from 69. And I love that they used the green. They changed it up from the blue for National League. I think this is the only year they used green. I don't know why, but this is just an epic looking baseball card. I don't know who's swinging in the back, but it almost looks like Mickey Mantle back there. I don't know who it is, but it does look like Mickey Mantle-esque style swing. I think someone did a video on that at one point. Was it Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards, maybe? I forgot who it was, but yes, I love this card. And this ties into my pickup from that I just got in the mail yesterday, I think it was. And it's not a Pete Rose card, but Pete Rose will be included in this little array of cards. But I picked this 1970 Topps Sporting News Hank Aaron card up for $22. And I'm telling you, you guys try and hunt for a 1970 Sporting News All-Star card that's centered. They are absolutely impossible. I've seen two of them, and this is one of them, and this isn't even dead centered. It's centered on this side and just a slight bit wider over there, but centered there, so a little thicker border on this bottom over here. But on an overall basis, this thing struck my eye, and there's no creases, there's no wrinkles in it. It's got those corners that are like bent up, but you can't even see that unless you're looking at it at a special angle like that. When you're looking at this thing straight on, the image is A++. The overall eye appeal in $22, I think I won this for, maybe less. And then let me show you guys the back. So shout out to Orlando, Collector's Dream, who said, hey, those are impossible to find centered. I heard it somewhere. He mentioned that. So it's been on my hunt list, of course. The backs, maybe the greatest backs in all of baseball cards. I mean, how insane are the backs of these All-Star cards? 1969 was the 14th year in which Hank has scored 100 or more runs. That breaks Lou Gehrig's record of 13 years. That's freaking sick. Like, what an epic fact right there. Right on the back of the card. You guys know how much I love facts on cards. That's why I love Leaders cards. Give me the history on the card. I don't have to look it up. And you learn something. Man, I'm gonna put this in reverse because we're gonna share another card here that I've had for quite some time. And it was a very inexpensive pickup. Actually, we'll leave this one out because it's a Sporting News. And that's the Pete Rose 1970 OPC. The second one I found dead centered. Now, OPC is easier to find centered for this set than... Well, actually, I can't say that because it's the only one I have. I'm just assuming because I randomly found this. Just like I wasn't hunting for that Hank Aaron. So I don't know that officially. But I freaking love this card. I think it's spectacular. And this is another like $20 to $30 purchase at most. Dead centered. Beautiful image. Beautiful surface. Everything about this card is what I love about vintage cards. And I love about graded cards because you can find them in lower grades and get them extremely inexpensive. Cheaper than they were when I was a kid. And look at the back on this. Another incredible back of a card. I think the Topps cards have a better, more vibrant back on this set, which is normally the opposite. But right there on the back, Pete Rose won the Major League batting crown for the second year in 1969. Just awesome. Awesome baseball card. And we'll put that sideways too. I think the backs are just outstanding. As much as I like the front, the backs on those are like just out of this world awesome. All right, I'm going to share one last card and story with you guys. And that's when Pete Rose got the home run record. In 1985, he hit number 4,192, breaking Ty Cobb's record. And what I'm going to share is something that is just an incredible story, and the way it all worked out. I was with Ken, Candyman Ken, Ken's Cardboard, and he was looking for the rookie card. And we found it. He found it, I should say, and he purchased it. Another card that I just love here. And I'd say about 10 minutes or an hour, maybe it was an hour later, we were at another booth that was selling tickets. And I asked the guy, it was a full ticket booth, and I asked him if he had any Roger Maris 60 home run, this 61 home run chase year tickets. And I think he had one. But then, he got to talking to us, and Ken asked if he had any Pete Rose tickets. And they did, and he did. And these were $20 each. And these are tickets from the actual game, September 11th, where Pete Rose hit number 4,192. I mean, dude, and Ken got two. Ken got a red version and a blue version, if I'm not mistaken, or at least he got the red one. This was $20. I think the only red one he had, I think it was a little more like 35 or something. And he got that because he had priority. He is Pete Rose super fan. He's always has been. I'm going to remake the label and talk about the story about where I got this and how I got this and more about the details of the game since it's not all on here. But to get this, and then literally within minutes of purchasing this, Pete Rose was driven by in a golf cart, almost killed Ken, and we saw Pete Rose in the flesh. And it's the first time I had ever laid eyes on him in the flesh. Maybe as a kid watching him play, I don't know, I don't remember that. But as an adult, or as my memory serves me, first time I had ever seen him in the flesh. It was unreal. It was surreal, as they say, to see him in the flesh. I saw Ricky Henderson that day too, but to see Pete Rose, and the second I saw him, he did not look well. And it was kind of depressing to see him in that state. And I even told Ken, I go, man, I just don't think he has much time left. He does not look well. He looked like he had cancer or something. He did not look good. But it was unbelievable. Right after Ken bought his rookie card, one he's been hunting for his entire life, and then we found that ticket. Never would have bought that ticket. Never would have thought to find that ticket if Ken wasn't with me, or how it all worked out. And then right after we bought that ticket, within minutes, literally right next to the booth that we bought these tickets from, P Rose almost ran us over, almost ran Ken over, and I was ahead a little bit. And I went back, and then I saw him, and it was just absolutely spectacular. And what else I got that day from that dealer was a mistake. And Ken pointed this out, and he goes, he gave us, or this was in there, and I don't remember who pointed it out, but it was the wrong date on there, because we were looking through them, and he had a whole box of them. There's like 20 of them from the Pete Rose record. And this one was in there, and we're like, hey, I don't remember who pointed out, but it's the wrong date. And he goes, oh, wow, thanks for telling me. He was a professional ticket dealer at a huge, giant booth, like a 4-time booth, like 4-banger setup. And he goes, well, you can have this. So he handed me this, and I kept this ticket, of course, and I'm going to slab this up. And I looked up what happened during this game. Pete Rose did not play, but Mike Schmitty hit a home run during that game. So now I have a Mike Schmidt home run ticket, which is awesome. The day before Pete Rose broke the record, so I can't wait to slab this up and talk about that day as well. A free ticket. It was $20, and I got 2 tickets. To have the history of the stub, have the history knowing this was in the game. That was in the game, in the building. I love tickets. I'm not buying millions of them, but for $20 to have a ticket like that, it's really special. And that story I'll never get used to that story and how it all went down. And I'm so stoked I was there with Ken that day. I'm so stoked that all happened. And poor Pete Rose, passed away not too long after. So rest in peace, Pete Rose. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing some of my collection of Charlie Hustle. And that's what I love about Pete Rose, is that he played like it was the World Series Game 7 every single time he played. Okay, be inspired. Don't be influenced by guys like me. Shaka!